And for that, they tried different tactics. They tried to attack most important 750 kilovolt substations, which are evacuating power from nuclear power plants. When systems survived that, they tried to attack balancing capacities in the system, thermal hydropower plants. Then they tried to combine different strategies in one attack. And they used 70 to 100 heavy missiles per attack every, let's say, 2 weeks to try different tactics, how to break up the system, how to initiate full national blackout. And they were successful ones. In November 2022, when there was really a almost full national blackout because of Russian attacks. And we managed, I was in the control room at the time, and we managed to recover from that in 13 hours and restore basically operation of nuclear, thermal, hydropower plants. We extensively used, of course, our interconnection with Europe that was already in place at the time. And since then, we managed to somehow adapt to their anti-humane tactics. But what we were doing, we were making certain adjustments in the system before the attack, so that when they tried to damage or destroy certain substations and power plants in different Ukrainian regions, we kept the system balanced, and we just prevented it from breaking into 2 or 3 parts and collapse. So since then, there were no instances of national blackout in Ukrainian power grid, despite the fact that Ukraine has survived 31 massive shellings. When I say massive, I mean 70 plus heavy missiles, and often accompanied by 50 or 100 plus kamikaze drones that are targeting specifically several thermal and hydropower plants and several Ukrenergo substations. But in 2024, Russians started, because they realized that their previous tactics to initiate blackout was not very successful. We managed to adapt. And we also fortified our objects with some engineering protection, and also Ukrainian air defense systems, where air defense system was somehow filled with Western systems like Patriot, SAMP-T, IRIS-T, and others. So they started new strategy. So now they are trying to attack generation facilities, so that this old Soviet traditional generation base is shrinking with time. So from time to time, they manage to destroy 1 or 2, let's say, thermal generation units completely, so that it cannot be restored anymore. So now we have this problem that transportation grid is well protected. We have very nice stock of equipment, which was not the case, by the way, in 2022. And especially I'm talking about high voltage auto transformers. But now we have this in the grid. But the problem is that they are trying to destroy generation base. And this led us to the realization of the fact that to survive, we need to deploy decentralized generation facilities. So instead of having one big power plant producing 1,000 megawatts of capacity, we would rather have 100 of 10 megawatt generation plants based on new technologies, which would be small enough to be protected from Russian shelling. So this concept is now being realized by Ukrainian authorities, but also private sector. And the idea is to create almost fully decentralized power system to make it more resilient to future Russian attacks. As the grid is already, we can say it's already protected quite nicely. The problem that is persistent, however, is that Russians are constantly trying to cut off our three biggest nuclear power plants from the grid by attacking adjacent substations that are evacuating capacity of nuclear power plants. And by doing that, they constantly create certain security risks for the operation of those nuclear power plants. And this happens all the time. So we our lessons learned is that if you want to have electricity system which would be not vulnerable to this hybrid threats from adversary, whoever it is, you cannot have these big centralized generation objects anymore, unfortunately. It's too costly in terms of security and in terms of investments to protect those facilities. And the only sustainable way to develop and to build up the power system of the future would be to focus on smaller installations so that big adversary as like Russia, for example, or some other autocracies could not uh, could not shut down the country by attacking 10 objects, I would say. And this is probably one of the main lessons that we've learned. And of course, the underlying concept of modern big war is that the adversary will for sure try to take down your electric grid first. For Russians, of course, it seemed probably that it was much easier to attack 10 power plants or 15 substations than to try to destroy million of Ukrainian troops or few thousands of Ukrainian tanks in the front line. If they succeeded in 2022, the war would be possibly over for us. But we managed to survive, and we are keen to share experience with our allies and the Western world in general to raise awareness about the risks that purely civilian electric system has during wartime when it becomes a military target. This is my introduction. I will not go into further details, and I would like this discussion to be, as a more live discussion, and would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.